Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Linda.
Hello, Kevin. So good to see you.
Good to
Good
see you. Yeah, it's like we
afternoon.
haven't spoken, right?
We won't say how much we've spoken in
Yeah, no, it's,
preparation
it's always
what
fun.
Kevin
But
says.
good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to our first coaching hour, the coaching hour, a live space where we are connecting with conversation and where we are working through coaching in conversation around transformation that happens in real time. So this is live, guys. So we are live, and we are looking for people who are sharing comments and questions. We are creating a space for growth, insight, and action. And every second Friday for the rest of the year, we'll be tackling some powerful topics that shape who we are as leaders and professionals and being human. So I'm Kim Britz, and we have the wonderful, incredible Linda Remke joining us here. Linda, from your side, just to give us a bit of insight of what's important about this Friday session for you.
Wow, so this type of session is so close to my heart, Kevin, and so I'm so excited to embark this journey with you that we can give back. It reminds me of a time throughout COVID. We had a big drive to market as well, a 15-week drive. Really just sharing, some coping mechanisms, tools to a target audience. And this now speaks straight into that. And of course, we've evolved a lot ever since. So can't wait to be sharing what we've learned and how we've grown and what we can impart with others. So yes, I'm looking forward to spending this time with you every week. And I think it could be quite a important session for most to join, especially as coaches, because it could possibly speak into CPD points as well, because it's all about the coaching hour. So look forward to embarking this with you.
Yeah, and just to layer that about the importance of this coaching hour, it's immediate transformation. So live coaching creates shifts in real time. I know that's part of the fundamental of Hello Coach is to kind of how do we have conversations, coaching conversations that shift right now, right within the hour that we spend going through a process. So really important from that perspective. From ideas to impact, it's not just theory, but practical tools, and demonstrates participants that can use information in real time. Also, the collective breakthrough. And I think as I was prepping for this, I think the collective conversation around coaching, because we are products of this, so it's a biggie for us already, and our lives showcase that. But also it just demonstrates that conversation, that collective conversation, that's how we do what we do and what we do needs to change. It needs to step up. There has to be something, and it's a collective breakthrough, I think, that's happening. And that's why I thought, if we're going to do this, let's put it out there. Let's do more. And and for those listening, we have some really nice promos happening from Hello Coach, but we'll get to that. Another one I think for me that stands out is taking chaos into clarity. And I was in a session the one day from a perspective with a client, and he was saying very often we find ourselves in the chaos. The chaos, we get so busy with the busyness of life and business, and his sentiments was we need to actually find the signal within the chaos. And when I first heard that, I was like, yeah, that's exactly
Mm.
why we do well. From my perspective as a coach, as someone who actively wants to help people, is very often the chaos is what debilitates us. The emotional, sometimes trauma that we put ourselves through, the fear, the anger, the guilt, these things that happen, and it just creates chaos until you have a moment where you can have a conversation with someone who's capable of holding space. And I think someone once said that to me, especially because I do the Lunchtime Series podcast, and someone said, Kevin, I think that's your superpower. You're able to hold space for people. And and again, from my opinion, I think that's what a really good coach, and I've seen you, and I know you do this really well, Linda. So, so holding space, right? And even in this conversation, I think that's part of what we want to be able to do is hold the space so we can navigate conversations so that we find a signal, we help people find a signal, right?
Mm.
What do you think about that? Like, does that sort of resonate, the holding space?
Yeah, it speaks so into the independent thinking partner offer we offer as coaches. Providing this thinking space for us to truly get to what is the source of what our frustrations are and our challenges are. And having the objectivity is so important, Kevin. So as coaches, especially, we always think we can self coach ourselves. And the
Yep.
peer learning from each other is so valuable. On the Hello Coach platform, we also have this hour that we spend together on a monthly basis, and really just inviting coaches to bring where they're struggling, in their practice, professionally or personally. And just with one individual bringing an aspect to the discussion, it turns into an hour discussion and shared learning. So yes, this is really a powerful space, and hopefully we can ignite a few thought processes, and hopefully there's some insight, and then of course the engagement with our audience at the moment would definitely deepen our this hour. So we want to really invite everyone to participate as we go along today with
Absolutely.
our business hour, our coaching business hour.
Coaching hour, yeah. So, um, I think the last one that I just want to add to that before we move into our next part of our agenda today is
Mm,
just a future ready growth perspective, right? And I think
mm,
I've had the wonderful privilege of designing and implementing a coaching leader as coach program. I know that you also have a program that you do, and being able to take that journey with people, through a thinking process, it really empowers them for a reframe of how to do uh, engagement, how to work with people in a different way, but also a set of tools. And I think the intention for me for this session is to how do we support that? Whatever we're doing, um, how do we support that? And with tools, because we know that there's so much that you can actually learn, but the wonderful Magda Dippenaar, she was on the show, and I know she might be listening, but she shared a sentiment. And Magda, please correct me if I'm wrong. You can WhatsApp me, but she shared, talking helps heal people, and I was like, yeah, it's such a beautiful way of thinking about it. And I think the intention for me is to help that, to help do that even. And if I can just help hold space, if I can share some insights, some knowledge, and have it a collective conversation so that it becomes the future ready kind of growth that we have, and we can enable people with, because that's really my intention of being able to do this, because it's nerve-wracking and we're doing this live.
absolutely. Just to speak into what Magda shared, as well as your alignment to it, that's what the coaching conversation's about with our clients. It's really to look at the lesson and find the blessing in that lesson. That's the thinking space and what we coach individuals towards. And once I have coined this one, once we find the blessing, is we call it a bless on. And that speaks into what Magda said. It's like when we speak about our bless ons, we heal internally every time we do that. But in the meantime, be fascinated who else we're healing. And really, that's the extension of what we are as coaches and why we're so passionate about the work we do and making the difference in the world, every one person at a time. So that's, yeah, exciting.
Absolutely. So, for
Mm.
those who have tuned in, guys, I just want to share with you a bit of an agenda which we're going to speak through. So, because we only have this hour to do what we're doing, and I'm a stickler for, people are busy, so stick to what you say you're going to do. So we're just telling you about the coaching hour. I'm going to share a bit about myself. Linda's going to share a bit more about herself and some insights. And then we're moving into personal branding. So, and Linda, I'll have you share, your perspective as well, because I think the part of what we're starting to realize in the world, and I think the reason why I think this is such an important conversation is we're having a lot of insights from very well-known people in public view who have really strong opinions. And it's almost like they're almost reckless with strong opinions. And I think we've got to a point where it's an extension of who you are, how you conduct your personal brand is an extension of who you are. And, that's what we're going to be covering today. So Linda's going to share some insights with us, and she has some beautiful history connected to this conversation. We're also going to have some Q&A. So if we have an audience, Lauren is listening in, so she'll share, because there are a number of streams happening. So if I miss a question, I'm sorry, but we're going to try and get to all the questions. And then we've got a special offer up for grabs. So guys, you're going to have to listen to the end for us to share that. But and then what's coming up next in our next session. So just to kick it off with some insights about me. I've been doing this for a number of years now. I'm an author, a speaker, podcast host, program designer, executive coach, and entrepreneur. And like Linda, and you'll hear her story as well, is over the past 15 years, I've worked as a facilitator and trainer and helped leaders and teams unlock potential to thrive in fast-changing environments. My focus for teams and leaders is to shift into a future-ready thinking, and that's part of why I thought like this is such a beautiful opportunity for us to do this online, because it is about the human skills that I'm passionate about. And we know that AI is this massive conversation at the moment, and I'm going, who's speaking about the human skills? Like, who's speaking about those skills that we can actively evolve from? And if AI is doing what it's doing, what are we doing, right? And I want to be able to have more of those conversations, because we're not going to just disappear. We're going to be working with AI. But the question is, what am I doing about that? So my blend is neuroscience, change management, human intelligence, and the book that I wrote, the future book, is Human. You can find that on my LinkedIn pages and stuff. Is really about the search of like, okay, so if we have to understand that there is an evolution of AI doing what it's doing, what does that mean for human intelligence? And the book really looks at the core competency and create specific skills that we'll need to evolve into. So for me, my mission is transformation, and from a contagious perspective, one leader, and Linda's already said, one leader, one team, one conversation at a time. And for me, that's who I am and what I do. So Linda, give us a little bit more, because I'm sure there are people out there that haven't met us. So please tell us a little bit more about you, a little bit about that background, because your background also sort of shares about the conversation we're going to have today.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, I just want to speak into who you are and what you've achieved. It's very admirable, and it's wonderful to be aligned to you, and that you form such a wonderful part of Hello Coach platform, as well as being our ambassador for our brand. So thank you for that. Yeah, so I'm a 30-year-old entrepreneur, and I'm still passionate about it. But in that space, I used to own advertising agencies. And of course, that is a creative hub, which I thoroughly enjoyed. My journey in the creative agency was, associating with many brands, working on different levels of communications in various organizations, internally as well as externally. But it's in that space that I burnt out 18 odd years ago. And I realized when I took some time out, I had to either change what I'm doing. Otherwise, what I'm doing will not bring different outcomes. So that's where coaching found me, and I found coaching. And the challenges I had gone through to get to burnout was 16 to 18 hours of work days, and realized that I needed to redirect. So coaching made me better and not bitter. And I'm so passionate about speaking about the betterness of coaching. It makes us better in life and in business and in work and as a leader. In organizations. But more than that, I'm so passionate about the value of what coaching brings. That there was in my practice, I was assisting many coaches finding their personal brand within the qualification as coach, and hence the personal brand link with my advertising background and branding background in my new career path of coaching. And from there onwards, of course, the multiplying effect took place. And so I call myself a visionary, and I take the leap of faith. And sometimes I wonder about that, but it has served me so well, and I really enjoy living on the edge, and we have been. So we're so proud of being fully represented by, a pipeline of 200 coaches on the Hello Coach platform now, bought into the vision of really helping others to lead better lives and better workplaces and better leadership. So we'll talk more about it as we go along. But yes, that's me in a nutshell, and we will continuously evolving. We're continuously evolving and innovating as we go along. So that's who I am.
Yeah, I just want to, like, there's such a rich fullness there, and from who you are, Linda. So, and for me as well, it's a privilege to be part of, Hello Coach as a coach, but also as, a brand ambassador, and. Like I've said to you this week that, I look forward to having a Linda conversation. I was like, we're going to connect, because we always end up speaking too long, right? But we're moving into today's conversation around personal branding, right? I've got 110 things happening at the same time, but personal branding, and why this is such an important factor. And I will share some slides that we can work through now, just for some insights. But I remember, and I think I've shared the story with you before, is someone asking that question about, when you're not in the room, what are people saying? And I know that's something you're going to touch on today. And I went and invariably shared some random comment on a social media post the one day about a political party. And one colleague close to me messaged me and said, Evan, you've worked too long, for too many years already, to be so reckless with comments that you're making on social media. Like, don't do that. And this was a couple of years already. And I at first I was like, well, don't tell me what to do. I first had that idea of like, well, I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm like entitled to say. And then I was like, wait a minute. If I just, step back and pause and think, what is that? What is it saying? And part of that conversation, I think this is why it's so important today, because in society currently, and we see this in a lot of leadership that's unfortunately exposed on social media everywhere, is a lot of leadership, my perception of it, is that people are very reckless with what they say. People kind of go, well, this is who I am, this is my opinion. And they kind of, and it doesn't matter who they offend, doesn't matter how they, go about doing it. They do it recklessly. And you kind of go, well, that's cool. You can have that opinion, but you must realize that that is also part of what it is you're putting out into public domain. Like you're actively involved in doing that. And I think that's why, for me, like when you mentioned it, I was like, yeah, I think this is a really good place for us to start, because from my perspective, I'm passionate about, putting the right stuff into public domain. And I don't always get it right, but I'm happy to learn and adjust and be aware of what I'm putting into public domain. So like, I'm going to share the slides, and then you can speak us through this thinking for today, because I think it's a beautiful, necessary conversation.
Yeah, it's so important to ensure that there's consistency, just to speak into what you just said now. and it's an ongoing journey. So it's not an overnight switch. And the more one works with it, the more you realize there's still some work to be done. We always talk about the onion ring philosophy. You know, you remove one layer, and then there's another layer, and there's another layer. And I think that's the exciting part of life. You know, it's a lifelong journey, and it's wonderful to have those to hold the mirror up often, to, like you said, you had that feedback. I think the fine line always, Kevin, is, you know, you want to be authentic, but it's about, you know, when do I place the guard in front of my lips, and how do I package it for it to land, that it serves me as person, serves the person receiving it as well as the situation. And I think that's what coaching really speaks into. It's about responding rather than reacting. So, as passionate as what we could be, is that our reacting or our reaction really serving us? Let's rather ponder on that and then package it as we would like to package it to serve all facets going forward. So, yeah, personal branding for me is about living from inside out, you know, and it's really getting to know who we are internally in order for us to be able to manage it externally. So it's an internal journey that you make a conscious decision around, like, I want to invest in my personal brand. What is my personal brand saying? And there's various ways and means of doing it. And you work a lot in that arena as well, Kevin. And I just love this arena. And as I say, it's married two worlds for me, you know, my branding story with my coaching journey right now. So it's really exciting for me to present this today. So we could go to the next slide. Thanks. Around personal branding. So, you know, so why does it matter? Why does it matter? It's all about the consistency. In how do we build relationships based on trust and credibility? How are we building a relationship with ourselves based on trust and credibility? Because the trust aspect really starts with self. Do we know ourselves well? I believe if we have a strong brand and we are vocal about it and it represents us fully, we can really, it opens up a whole lot of opportunities. It allows you to position yourself for certain positions, for certain opportunities, and of course build and influence others around you. Of course, it also highlights the differentiation. You know, I just love the uniqueness of who we are as human beings, which we'll speak into the next slide. And we're all different, you know, and it's about really getting to our uniqueness and differentiation there, and saying, with this knowledge, where do we want to apply this? Because I do believe we're all called for something very specific on our journey, our wonderful journey on this earth. So it's finding that and differentiating. Beautiful, Linda. Going forward, yeah. And then, of course, I think, I don't know about you, speaking into the calling, it's about the legacy that we leave, you know, and yeah, that we can be proud of, and we know that we've made a difference. And I think as coaches, um, every coach I've met, as Linda, my journey started here, and then I asked him, what made you decide to be a coach? And there's adversity that brings you to that stage, or there is a situation that they just realize they want to give back, and it's all about giving back and how can we make a difference in others' lives. So yes.
Linda, so just on that legacy, I think also a frame for me that is really important about it is 10 years ago, I really didn't care about legacy. I was like, oh, you know, I'm building a brand and doing my thing. And part of the evolution of what I was doing is to really look at, you know, right now, I might not be aware of legacy, but part of what I started realizing was if I were to leave this earth, what would I want people to say? You know, and you know, you only have so much time. And you and I spoke about this recently, and you kind of go, well, at the end of the day, what is it that you want people to say? And I think that's why, for me, it really does leave such an important conversation for us to kind of go, well, you know, if I were to choose, if I had a magic wand to move myself, you know, 50 years from now, kind of go, if people were to look back at me, like what would they say? What would I, and it might not be a million people, it might just be 10. But if those 10 mattered, like what would I absolutely want them to say? And I think that's why legacy, I think the framing of that is so important, that we consider it.
Absolutely. And yes, so as I mentioned, it's all about the uniqueness and what makes you you. And speaking into the fingerprint, there's no two fingerprints the same. And I think that's what I want to just share with our audience today. We always comparing. I, you know, Kevin does this so well. How can I feel like this imposter syndrome when I'm around Kevin with regards to certain applications, and that's not about that. Yes, there's learning around that, but it's about celebrating who I am as Linda, what I value, what I stand for, what my strengths are, what my story is all about, and really getting to that to be able to start positioning yourself for who you are from a personal brand. And then there's various ways of doing that. So we're going to speak about that a little bit today. And where is a starting point? Because a person mostly doesn't know, where do I start? Yes, I know I want to achieve this, but where do I start? So I just like the saying, they don't buy into what you do, they buy into who you are. And building a brand is an intentional act. You want to say something there, Kevin?
No. Please carry on. Sorry.
All right. So it's just an intentional act. So it really doesn't happen overnight. It's something like, I really want to start looking at my brand. Firstly, internalizing, going inward and say, who am I at core? And then from there onwards, start looking at how would I like to be perceived in life and in my professional space. So we're going to start with that journey and talk through a methodology of thought process. And hopefully we can leave you with something today that is new. Otherwise, maybe just nudge you into something that you've known already and say, listen, it's time to take action, because you've got a gift to bring to this world. And it's about getting to that gift for who you are as a person. So we can go to the next slide. So I'm all about emotional intelligence. My training is around emotional intelligence, and I'm a value-based coach as well. So for me, emotional intelligence has your 4 quadrants. As you can see, there's 4 quadrants. I've circled self-awareness today because we are going to unpack one self-awareness tool, but it all starts with self-awareness. If you look at the left-hand side of this graphic, self-awareness is all about accurate self-assessments. And this is where tools within the coaching conversation, within the business sphere, is really handy when it comes to igniting the journey of self-awareness. And once we have ignited that, it's then how do we manage that? And that's our responsibility then. I say when we don't know what we don't know until we know what we don't know, we actually can't manage it. So
Yeah.
it assists you with tangible information of what I value, what my core strengths are, what's my behavioral traits, and how am I showing up in the world, and then how do I manage that. So the left-hand side of this graphic is all about me. And on the other side of it is all about we. So how do we interpret that, and how do we integrate that into our relationship management and, of course, the society? How do we then live that out as a ripple effect? But it starts with me and my self-awareness and finding that and identifying that.
So one of the things that I just want to highlight again as a framing, and I think, it says accurate self-assessment. And I think one of the, especially from a coaching perspective, and I speak for myself, but, having gone through so many coaching sessions with coaches for myself, is accurate self-assessment isn't easy, right? And very often when we're limited, when we feel that imposter syndrome, when we feel like, this doesn't sit easily with me. It's that very conversation that we accurately need to assess, right? It's the
Mhm.
thing that is discomfort, right? And for me, even today, doing a live session to socials like this, part of that is leaning into the discomfort, and you kind of go, yeah, absolutely, this shines a spotlight right on you, and now you're going to show up, and it's very uncomfortable, but part of the discomfort is the growth. So I love the fact that it's specifically speaks to accurate self-assessment, because very often people, we self-assess and we say, yeah, no, we're aware, of course I'm a self-aware, I'm very self-aware. And usually, if you're so flippant about that sentiment, and I'm making a generalization, I'm aware of that, is the we're not as self-aware as we think we are, right? So I think it really gets us to really start understanding that the self-assessment in itself needs to be more accurate, and even if it's uncomfortable, right?
Mm,
So I love that.
mm.
I just wanted to share that because I think it's an important awareness.
Yeah, I think just to speak into what you said now, it really takes courage, Kevin. And I think that's where many
Yeah.
do possibly shy away from it. It takes courage. But this is where I see it's an intentional act. I want to get to know that now. And assessments do highlight blind spots. So that's really our journey towards growth and personal growth. And it highlights, the shadow missions around that. So this is all coaching terminology now. But yes, we're
Mm.
not aware. I always say, we see this is the way we see things, but there's so much more that we need to broaden our perspective for. And then there's a whole lot that others don't, that others see behind us that we are not aware of at all. So having a thinking partner, an objective thinking partner, like a coach, is really a great journey to embark on to grow personally. In
And I'm just going to add, just to layer that on, is like, that's why we do this, right? Because we have coaches, we have people we turn to, we have thinking partners. It's so important. Like, I would really like, when everyone's like, I need to go and see a psychologist, I'm like, yes, you do. Like, go and see one. Like, if I need a coach, it's like, absolutely do that, right? Because we do. We need someone to give us the blind spot, to speak to the blind spot, to kind of go, are you aware? So that you become more aware. And that in itself is the self-awareness. Like, you
Mm.
actively invested and intentionally invested in self to understand self better, right?
Yeah, so just to end that thought of, being a master coach today doesn't
Mm,
mean I don't need coaching. I have
yeah,
my supervisor coach, and that's why I'm so passionate about supervision for coaches. I've also
yeah.
qualified myself as a supervisor coach. So for me, it's very important that we embark on that journey to continuously grow, in order to be the best coaches that we can be and individuals in life, and be able to portray that. And that, as I'll say again, it starts with us. Intentionally starts with us. It takes courage. Take the leap and start with it. And this is the invitation I'm going to open up today on the next slide. So let's take that one on now. Thank you. Right. So, I'm so passionate about this topic, or this tool, the values exercise. So, we live a very subconscious life, and yes, we're valued based, and yes, we know our values, but do we truly know what drives us? And we can relate to many values, but have we really taken the time out to say, what is my top 5 personal core driving values? And I'm going to just talk through this today to really just leave some food for thought, and hopefully plant some seeds to say, listen, this is possibly something to solidify wherever I'm at in my life, but maybe also be the starting point of my personal branding journey, is really to go get to know, who am I at core? What is really important for me? What matters most to me? And I will fight tooth and nail for it, because it's so important. And having those top 5 values at your fingertips, how do we manage life and business and workplace and leadership better with that knowledge going forward. So here is a QR code, which this our gift to our target audience today. Please scan this QR code. This is an opportunity for you to take some time to identify your top 5 values. And you will receive them via email with some thought-provoking questions linked to it. But more than that today, and I'm giving this away at the moment, is there's a special offer as well linked to this QR code, which is a big drive that we as Hello Coach are driving this month as a start of a coaching journey for anyone. And it's available at R1. That's how passionate we are to really start educating the market on the power of coaching and to be able to start embarking their journey on that. So please take this opportunity to scan this, and we're going to unpack values on the next slide as well. Kevin, you want to add anything to that?
On the value conversation, I think for me, at every level, when I'm doing anything with anyone from a coaching perspective, it's value-based. It is. So I can't emphasize it even more, to the point, Linda, that's we live our lives according to values. We make very, very big decisions based on our values. We make career choices based on our values. We'll decide where to live based on a value. We'll decide, we make life-altering decisions based on a value system. And what's interesting about a value is it doesn't need to be anyone else's value. It needs to be mine. And I also get to choose whether I want to keep the value or change the value. And as life goes, as things happen, we'll eventually, our value systems might evolve and things might change. And I always use COVID as a big example where, people were career driven and suddenly this big thing happened on the planet and suddenly there was a shift in values and you're like, oh no, actually my family is important. There was a whole shift in values and I was looking, wow, as a planet, there was such a big movement like this and our values literally changed almost overnight, right? And but getting back to the point of values, guys, I would recommend go and check it out. It's really a good place to start, especially about self-awareness. Like off the top of your head, your top 5 values are things you just need to know. For me, top 5 value, one of them is adventure. If you're not having fun, if it's not an adventure, stop doing it. I love the adventure of things. Growth is another value. I know them that well because I live my life according to them. Who I have in my world, the decisions I make, the clients I work with, the partners I work with. It has to be that kind of understanding around your value system because as humans, it's very, someone once said to me, even if you find conflict between people, chances are they have a value conflict. Right? And you're like, that's so important to understand. But yes, this slide, please tell us more about this.
Yes. So I'm going to address 3 thoughts with you today. So I said, got it. I hope you got the QR code and that you scanned it because it is a journey towards helping you to identify your top 5 values. But now what? So the 3 I'd like to address, yes, it's all about self-awareness. So first and foremost, you're going to be aware of what your value system is. Knowing that value system in your self-awareness state, it brings alignment to who you are authentically. And as you said, yes, it might shift or change, but be fascinated that your instinctive selection of your top 5 values is going to be mostly what drives you in life. Yes, the wording might change, the name might change, or the positioning might change, but that is really what it brings to you, self-awareness and what is important to you and what not. And what am I going to allow to be compromised in that space with this knowledge of my values? And what must I do to honor them? What must I put into place to honor the values? And yes, with decision-making stages, it's really a wonderful compass to have. As you can see, there's a compass there tough decisions, complex situations, conflict, as you've just mentioned now. Why do I have this conflict situation with someone? Wow, the way they see things and the way I do, it's just not matching. How can we bridge this? How can we have a crucial conversation around that in order to find common ground of understanding that we do approach things differently? And then also being able to make the conscious decision: do I want to place myself in that space or not? Is the next, insightful outcome that you can have with that discussion around that. You want to add anything to the self-awareness thought process and the compass in life?
I just want to, like, for me, I think an important word that you used is honoring your values. And I think when you are aware of them to that degree, and you kind of go, is this in alignment with my, and usually when people are not aware of their values, and again, it's a generalization, but usually when people are not aware of their values, long-term effects of that will mean you start becoming unhappy. You feel like, this isn't working out. Something's not sitting well. This doesn't feel like flow, right? And, when you have that indication, it's a really good indication to kind of, is this value aligned, right? And then you kind of, it's immediate awareness, and it's immediate like, this is not aligned to growth. So this is why this is not working, right? So, I mean, it gets down to that kind of nitty gritty.
It's
that it
powerful.
like, right?
Powerful. Yeah, absolutely. It's a powerful tool. You know what, we in my agency, we've driven a lot of recognition and rewards programs and internal communication programs. And my clients always ask me, Linda, please help us help our people align to our value system. And in my coaching journey, I've just realized that, and I wish I'd known that in my agency days, because we put various tools and mechanisms into place. But if you don't know what your value system is, why it's important to know it, and how it assists you to manage your life, and how can you honor any other values, our organization's values, because it comes down to the same. If I don't know the power of knowing my own value system, how can I honor another value system? So it really starts with the individual to know that. So if I drive this now again, I would say, listen, we do an individual value system for everyone, and we teach them the importance of knowing their values. When they realize that they don't want to compromise on values, they would, make conscious decisions of how do I align to others and their value systems. And it's not to impress it on them. It's being able for you to make informed decisions and understand why certain relationships just don't flow, like, where ones do flow. So yes, it's a great one. But can we go back to that again? Sorry, before
Yes.
Yes. For me, triggers is the biggest link to values, and it's a warning light. So when you know your top 5 values and a situation takes place, the first place you go to is what value has been triggered. And I've realized, or we've realized as we've gone along, that 95% of the time it's one of your values. It helps you name it, and then it helps you make a decision of how I want to manage this now. It helps me respond better to it than react, because it's about honoring your value. And then from there onwards, values help you set healthy boundaries as well. So once you know your values, you're able to set the boundaries of what I allow in my space as an individual, and what I don't. So yes, those are the 3 thought processes I want to leave with values. So with that said, I'd like you to reflect from today onwards, as you mentioned right in the beginning, what are others saying about you when you're not in the room? What are they saying about you as a value system? So if I'm a leader in integrity, yet I am expecting my team members to do shortcuts for deliverables, that integrity will be questioned. And that's where we lose the trust and ultimately respect, and it starts spiraling. So it's so important to be able to maintain that and live them now that
But
you
it
know
was
them.
just with that mentioned, Linda, I think what's also important, and it's not a case of saying, oh well, I need to impress people all the time. That's not the why you want to kind of reflect on this. What's really important, that, like you saying, is when you're dealing with people, when you are dealing with teams of people, your value system will dictate on how people see the truth, essentially.
Mm.
And if you are not aligned to what it is you say you're actually valuing, it is an incongruent consistency that you're having with when you're doing one thing, but you're saying another,
Mm.
right? So, as from a coaching perspective, like, it's all good that, and that's why I love that you say you can't expect to honor a value when you don't understand how they work, right? So when you have that alignment, it's easier. And also, it's easier to deal with people. So share this with your team, share this with people that you work with, and kind of go, what is it that you value? What's like important to you? Because then you kind of go, oh, okay, cool. If someone has a high value of growth, and you're putting them in an environment that's not growing, they're probably gonna show some kind of behavior that is inconsistent with growth, right? Because it doesn't the value is not consistent. So that's the point. That's the seriousness of this, is that it impacts business, life, what we do, how we do everything.
It's amazing. There's not one session I have where the values exercise doesn't ignite a whole new way of looking at an individual's lives, how to manage it better.
Yeah.
Understanding when I'm unsettled, that dis-ease I have when something has happened. And you draw it back to your value system, because then you can, as I say, tangibly name it and then work with it. So yeah, I can talk about that for ages, but yeah, again, we're just showing the wonderful platform of Hello Coach, and I speaking to it as the one was like it's a mother having a baby, and your baby's always beautiful, no matter what. So this is really a vision that so many independent thinking partners, coaches have bought into as well, because we have a very big vision on this platform. And the platform offers the 34 topics that we'll discuss now as well, but it's a app that is downloadable from hellocoach.coza. It's a web app. And on this app, you will find that every coach has also identified their top 5 driving values. So this is really living my brand as visionary out into my business. Whatever I approach, it's about, listen, we need to align it to who I am, because that is the consistency that we strive towards. And then if you wish, you're welcome to go through the 34 topics once you've downloaded it, and you'll find the personal brand button there. But we address 4 categories, which is workplace, lifestyle, health and well-being, and relationship. And we have these wonderful holistic topics that addresses you as an individual from any perspective in your life. And what's wonderful about this is that you can elect to engage with different coaches. So yeah, that is what the Hello Coach platform is all about. And last but not least, I want to just highlight your brand already exists. So I want you to all know that to our audience today. So the question is, are you shaping it intentionally, or are you leaving it to chance? So thank you so much. Our presentation is over now, but we'd like to open it up to some questioning now. I hope there's some questions. Would you like to recap for us?
Just a quick recap, yeah. And I think what where we started is so important, and I think it's just speaking through it, and we've shared a useful tool, but a significant one. And I think it builds trust and credibility, your brand in itself. And that's why the value system is so important, because when you understand, and as you mentioned, Linda, the values that the coaches on the platform are also showcasing, is people then resonate, right? When you have a similar set of values, and it's not by chance. I've tested this theory, I've looked at it, I've gone out and asked questions. When people have similar value systems, they get along like a house on fire.
Mm-hmm.
When they have similar value systems, they have commonality, right? it's not by chance that when people do have very, very different value systems, you can tell that that it's almost like chalk and cheese, right? But it builds that trust and credibility between people. It does open opportunities because it's almost like, this person is valued. Like they have a set of values that is tangible. That's honestly something that you can resonate with. And I think that is the differentiator. And I think we mentioned earlier about the um, imposter syndrome, and it's kind of going, no, when you have a set of values and when you really know that awareness for self to that degree, it's not about the imposter. It's about, well, who are you and how is your differentiator different to anybody else, right? And that in itself, I think, leaves the legacy, right? Because then, that's what makes it so important. That really taps into the importance. So thank you for sharing this with us. I know that you are very passionate about this, and a background in brands and working with brands. So it's beautiful, guys. And before we get that, we've got some questions. I'm just going to read them out. Lauren's busy typing them on for us. So let me just stop sharing here quickly, just so we have, I don't know how much time we've got. We've got 5 minutes for some questions. So let's cover some questions here. What makes a strong personal brand stand out, and how do I communicate what makes me unique, right? Linda, what do you think? What makes a strong personal brand stand out, and how do I communicate what makes me? I think for me, if I were to share, and I think it comes back to self, right? Very often when we try to emulate someone or we try to match something, it doesn't always resonate with the absolute authenticity of that, what I'm trying to share or showcase. So I think it comes back to, well, how well do you know you, right? And until you get there, that's where we should start, not with, well, let me paint a picture for you. Rather, show up in a way that is absolutely aligned with who you are. What do you think?
Well, I'm speaking to your authenticity there. It's being authentic. And I believe when you have tools like these that really inform you, you are grounded. And that builds a deeper sense of self trust, self respect, self belief, and ultimately is the confidence that you portray when you enter a room and when you engage with others. So I believe it really, a strong brand is a confident person. It comes across as confidence and assertiveness. So yes, I hope that answers the question.
Another question is, what's one small practical step that I can take after today to begin shaping my story with more intention? And I think that's beautiful, because using those words are also important. But I think for me, it always comes down to quiet time. Like, how do I actively get involved to take time to sit quietly with myself and reevaluate? Because personal branding is not about putting it, pushing it into people's faces. It's really, it's just, for me, I find that there's an alignment that I need, right? And if something's not aligning, and it comes back to the self-awareness. Like, I have to know, like this doesn't feel aligned. And I'm all about emotion and feeling. I think it's very important. But when it's not aligned and I haven't taken the quiet time, and in that quiet time, I usually figure it out. So I think a small step that I often share with people is, take the time, take some time out intentionally to think through, what is it that you're putting out into, the universe. How is it that you choose to be you? Because the taking time out is going to give us some quiet time to kind of reflect back.
I just love that question because I want to say whoever asked the question is you're already 50% of the way there because there's an intention already. And it's taking the courage now to engage with a tool like the values exercise and then take the time out like Kevin has just mentioned. Become quiet with those values. Why is it so important to you? What will you put into place to honor those values? what will you put into place to protect those values? Because now that you can solidify it within self, how does it have a ripple effect with those that I love around me? How does it affect? How does my value system integrate with my colleagues, the marketplace, and society? So the more you journey with your values, the more solidified it would become for you, and you'll find your fastest in that, and you'll see you'll attract the next tools you need for your personal brand journey, and of course link online with a personal brand and embark a journey. So that's my next invitation.
I love it. So we literally have 5 minutes left, guys. So just want to share. We have a beautiful. We were speaking about the offer. So if you are checking us and watching now, please go and check out the QR code. There is a special offer running on Hello Coach for R1, guys. It's a R1 offer. And it literally allows you to link up with a coach, link up with a valued coach that aligns with your values, and you could get some wonderful, good insight from your coach and finding a nice connection with someone that you actually want to take a step forward. Linda, tell us more about the special offer, because I know this is running for the month
of September. Yeah. So we decided this September we want to really just really give back. And we're really inviting those to engage with the platform first and foremost, and to take up the offer. It may be the start of your journey to becoming who you believe you need to become in this world. So by scanning the QR code, you're going to have 2 opportunities to now engage with us from today onwards, to identify your values, as well as the promo code. When you do download the app, you need to, you'll go through a pay gate process, but all you need to put in is the promo code, and you can buy your first session for R1. So please take up the offer, should you be ready to embark on this journey.
Yeah, guys, and you'll probably see us on platforms. So if you want more information, if you want to check it out, you can message me, you can message Linda, you can check out Hello Coach. Hello Coach is a LinkedIn page. I've got LinkedIn pages. Linda's got LinkedIn pages. So go and chat to us, find out more about it. And yeah, it's an incredible offer, because coaching, for the large part, has always been inaccessible because it's usually very expensive. So Hello Coach has just come up with this amazing offer to make it affordable for anyone to have coaching. So go and check it out. If you want to find out more, I'll also share this with some online pages, so you guys can check it out and you can register. And then before we run completely out of time, and we want to respect people's time today, Linda, so on our next conversation, it's going to be happening in 2 weeks' time. It's not always going to, well, it might always be you and I, but there are going to be experts sharing the space with us and giving us some more insights, and we're going to unpack it. But we're going to be touching on burnout, and just to leave the audience with something to look forward to in the last 2 minutes. Share your perspective on why this is such an important conversation.
I think it's a burning issue at the moment, in many ways. We're living in an uncertain life globally. We have a lot of external factors having an impact on us, and personally as well as in business. And I mean, of course, it all starts with ourselves. But burnout is really on the tips of many tongues at the moment. And it's all about how is my work-life balance? Am I really putting back into my tank? How do I start identifying that I'm on the journey of burnout, and what do I need to do in order to circumvent that? So we're really excited about the next talk, and of course it's part of my journey. I'm very passionate about that as well.
And guys, well, in every conversation, it's our aim to leave you with some kind of tool set. So we will share tools on every conversation we have. We will bring as much information and we will share as much information as we can. But go and check it out. Please join us for the next session. Thank you for being here. And it's the coaching hour happening every second Friday right here on LinkedIn and many other socials. It's a live space where coaching meets conversation. Transformation happens in real time. And we want those conversations happening. We want to ask questions. We want to support. as much as we can, because that's what we do. We want to empower. Linda, thank you. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the effort, the energy, and everything that goes into this with me the whole time, because we do so much. And thank you for such an insightful session and the insights about personal branding.
Yes, well, thank you for the opportunity, Kevin. And yes, we've got connection. It just shows you that there's a similar value system, and that is why I really value our relationship. I'd like to leave a thought with everyone. The African proverb is, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And I look forward to our together journey in this space, but I'd like others to consider doing it together with someone else, should you feel you want to go further. So thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been wonderful.
Absolutely. Guys, have
and
a fantastic...
thank everybody who joined.
Have a good one, guys. Chat to you soon. Cheers for now.
Yes, enjoy it. Bye.